Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the Love Workshop on how to detect liars, cheaters, and players. My name is Dr. Dan, and I will be your host for tonight's event. We have Yani, that's going to be my co-host, and so it's going to be a lot of fun. We will make this event very interactive. As you may all know, not everyone really like just theory; they prefer practice. So this is what we're going to emphasize on. So I'm a cognitive behavior psychotherapist, and I deal with narcissistic personality disorder. I deal with marriage counseling and a lot of issues with self-esteem, and the list goes on and on. I also help couples in their very difficult marriages, and hopefully get them to reconnect and communicate better. Now I'm going to let Yani introduce herself a little bit.
As you know, I'm a dating and relationship coach, and I chose the topic because I feel that it affects so many people, men and women alike. Liars, cheaters, and players. And then you have people who have all of the above. They're liars, they're cheaters, and players.
Correct.
And so I thought it was so interesting to try to understand what we're dealing with from the perspective of a doctor and the perspective of a love coach, which is myself.
Okay.
So what's usually the upbringing of someone who's a compulsive liar?
Okay, well, usually it's based on their immediate environment. Most of those who've been raised by parents who are not communicating properly, and they know that if they do not know how to interact with each other, the mother and the father, that let's say if they had siblings lied constantly, their father lies, the mother lies. So as they grow, they feel that that has become normalcy. That has become a way of life. That has become a way that people interact with each other. Unfortunately, just because of it being their direct environment, they associate this kind of behavior with everyone else. And they're the one who lack trust towards everyone that is external to their environment. And that's unfortunately because of them being raised in such a toxic and lying, hey Josh, how are you? Toxic and lying environment. They continue this way in the relationship. They lie as boyfriend, as husband, as co-worker, and they tend to be able to continue this behavior all the way through their life.
People that are not social. People that might have been brought up seeing lying as a norm. People who are not comfortable with themselves. Now they have Facebook, they have J-Swipe, they have J-Date, they have Instagram, they have WhatsApp.
Bumble.
They have so many platforms that they can use, and they can build an identity in these platforms. They can be younger, they can suddenly be rich, they can be whoever they like to be. And that's why online dating, which is so convenient and is so common these days, it's a little bit tricky because you don't really know who you're talking to until you meet them and you actually get to know them. And if you're not careful into really finding out who the person is, and you start opening up, sending pictures, there's a lot of people that would ask you for pictures of yourself. You understand what I'm talking about. It could be very dangerous because you don't know who you're dealing with. And there are so many people that are compulsive liars who take advantage of these platforms to turn themselves into an identity and a persona that they're not, to get what they want.
The reason why we decided to do this seminar, and Yani and I decide on that, is because it is an extension of NPD, okay? Because narcissistic are liars, they're cheaters, they're players, okay? And this is why now it's a way for you to be able to understand this a little bit better, and we'll go a little bit deeper into the topic itself. But yeah, like I said, Yani mentioned about the dating pool, okay? And I know now with this pandemic, we see a lot more challenges when it comes to dating. Not now that we have people lying, but now with this pandemic, it's impossible to meet them face to face. So imagine how much time you have wasted online, talking, interacting with that person, and after 6 or 8 weeks, you have developed emotional connection with this person, You have not seen them face to face. You don't know who's on the other end. And she mentioned that it could be a man, and you thought it was a woman. And then wait, you send them $10,000 from someone living in Nigeria. So again, you have to be very careful, and it's hard.
You have to be very, very careful. And then we have the players. Why would someone become a player, Dan?
What would someone become? Because it is there. It is available to them. Okay, so first of all, those players, there's some issues happening in their brain. Okay, first of all, they lack a lot of self-esteem. Okay, so we have to really understand what players do. And Yani and I had a very deep conversation prior to this seminar about are liars automatically cheaters? If yes or no, what would everyone say? John, a lie is not a lie if you truly believe it, okay? Which in a way, if you train your mind to believe the lies that comes out of your mouth, it may not be a lie for them. And this is the sickness that they live in. Because for them, nothing is a lie. And they truly believe that everything they say is the truth. So they distort what reality is. And that's one big problem. It's very hard to be able to convince a liar that what they say is not the truth. But was there something that you wanted to add regarding that, Yani, about those who are born liars? Like if you're a born leader, that's one thing, but are you a born liar?
Cheater. Okay, so you're dealing with genetics, culture, or mindset. In the Latin community, it's very common to encounter the three things.
There's one thing as well, is that genetically, as Yani was mentioning, there's a type of hormones that the liars and cheaters and narcissistic personality disorder, they lack what we call the two hormones built by the pituitary gland, which is the oxytocin and the vasopressin, okay? These are the two hormones that a regular person can create, which shows empathy, love, emotional connection with other people. When you're in love, you feel great, right? You feel like happy. This is what the hormone, the oxytocin, is being produced in your mind. But if you are this kind of person, like a grandiose narcissist or like a psychopath or a sociopath, you're not going to be able to produce the same amount of hormones. Just like those who are diabetes with a problem with the pancreas, and they cannot develop or they cannot create insulin the same way as other people who are not suffering from diabetes. Same thing with the mind. So you have to really pay attention that sometimes it may not be their fault, okay? So you cannot, like Yani said, it doesn't make the other person an evil person, okay? Mm-hmm. They can be kind, they can be generous, but that doesn't necessarily mean that being kind and generous mean that there's someone that they could invest themselves emotionally towards someone else. So you have to...
No. So as a coach, what I tell my clients is the following. Look for red flags. Keep your eyes open because you want to keep your way clear to be able to focus on the right prospect.
No, I mean, I understand that. That actually is a very good point. You see, when I know that online there's what we call a term catfishing. Catfishing, hey Sam, how are you?
Yes, hi.
When someone refuses to be able to meet you either in person or do a video chat or talk to you at a specific time, they try to avoid you as much as possible. And to reiterate what Yani said about they will project their lies, they will project their insecurity on you. And this is what gaslighting is. Gaslighting is when they feel insecure, but instead of having the attention on them, they throw it back at you. So they're going to tell you that you're the one who's lying. You're the one who's insecure. You're the one who's this. You're the one who's that. So at the end, the person, if they constantly feel that they're hearing the same thing over and over again, they start doubting their own decision. They start doubting if they're making the right. So then they allow the narcissist or the liar or the cheater to make decisions for them. Because
Yes, I will.
If you start doubting everyone, or if you start doubting your own behavior and your own action, you're going to start losing self-esteem. And then you're going to give that esteem or that control to someone else. And that's where this whole play constantly comes into the mind of the players and cheaters. That's what we call them players, is because they don't just play in a sexual way. They play more in the emotional way. They play more with your mind. They play with your feelings, with your emotions. Basically, they create havoc in your own emotional state of mind. And this is where it becomes extremely complicated, because after that, you will start losing trust in everyone else that you encounter, in everyone else that you come across with, because of the past experience. And I know that Yani told me that she had some issues in the past with relationships. They could be toxic. They could be, lack of trust, lack of connection, and so on and so forth. So that allows you to be able to kind of have a better idea of where you stand. And like I would tell everyone, never wear your heart in your sleeves. Try to be able to keep that later on when you're really in a deep, loving relationship. Then you could be more, I would say, open. But until then, never, never, always put your mind first. Always put your heart at last, okay? Because if you think with your heart, yeah, it's going to be broken. That's a guarantee, especially nowadays. You do not want to put yourself in that position. And also, you have to understand that you're going to come across psychopath in your life. You're going to come across sociopath in your life. And all of them do share a very common denominator. And the common denominator is the cheating part, okay? They're always going to project what they think is the truth, what they think is normal. And for you, it may not be normal, but they're going to train your mind to start believing them. And if that happens, you're spiraling down to the abyss, and it's going to be impossible to get out of it. And then if they're narcissists, it's hard to break up with a narcissist because they will not allow someone else to break up with them. You have to understand that part.
The real person that should be with you, your ideal partner, I hope is the way that I found mine. Everything was an open book from the beginning. That's how you know that you're in the right relationship. There's no hiding of phones. There's no passcodes. There's no hiding Facebook. There's no hiding anything. Not that you should be invading someone's privacy at all times. Everything should be balanced. And this is very controversial these days. And I feel like people, especially women, are very much afraid of doing something that might get them to lose the relationship. If you want your partner to trust you, I believe in building trust. You don't know what this person is being through. Okay? So if you really want to build partnership, everything should be open because there's nothing to hide, right? So if someone wants to ask you something or look at your Facebook for a moment, or sometimes it's just to feel that there's nothing wrong happening. You know, it's like natural. It's a natural curiosity, but at the same time, it makes you feel better afterwards because you see that there's nothing wrong. And that's why with my husband, I never had trust issues. And I thank God I don't have.
But here's
because
the thing.
You feel that sense of opening, of everything being exposed and clear.
Is that also a lot of the people, or a lot of those, like you said about the trust, they will say that you're invading my privacy. You are invading this, or you don't trust me. So if you don't trust me, what are we doing in this relationship? This is how they're going to throw you back and retaliate towards your behavior of wanting to have full transparency. But you have to be careful with that. If you put themselves in the defensive, they will act defensively. And if they act defensively, they're going to make you feel guilty because you're asking those questions and you don't trust them. So then in return, they're going to say, well, if you're not trusting me, then you know what? We should conclude this relationship. Now, if you have more invested in this relationship than they did, and that's 100% guarantee that this is going to happen, they will just make you feel like you're the one who destroyed the relationship because of your lack of self-esteem. Okay, so please detach yourself from this, and you have to say, look, this is the beginning of a relationship. I don't know you, you don't know me. So for me to be able to feel more at ease, I think we should have full transparency. If you're not comfortable with that, hasta la vista, baby.
Exactly what there is to hide. When you are in a real relationship, there's nothing to hide.
Exactly.
First, make sure that this is going to where you want it to go. If things are moving forward, if you both like and have interest for each other, have a little casual conversation. What are you looking for? What are you looking for in a partner? What are your plans for the future? Get a grasp of what's in the mind of that person, and then watch actions against words. They can tell you anything, but then what the actions are. And then once you are in a serious relationship, let's be honest with ourselves. Understanding, respect, and communication are extremely important in a relationship.
Boundaries, but if you do not show people that you're serious about communicating properly from the beginning, so if you're afraid to ask questions in the beginning, imagine how you're going to be afraid in the future. So just be open, and if they're not willing to at least meet you halfway, don't even try to jump into this relationship, because you're going to end up getting hurt. So it's better to kind of like separate yourself from the beginning than getting and digging deeper and deeper and deeper, and then realizing that this is going nowhere. They're not changing. And then if you start asking questions, they're not going to look at it as communication. They're going to look at it as interrogation.
Exactly. And once you're together, make sure that the way that the foundation that you're building for that relationship, make sure is exactly what you want. Because if you wait until the end, or you wait too long, then you can't change the terms. You know, some women that I have met have said to me, well, he goes out to a club or who knows where. He goes with his friends. He comes back at 4 o'clock in the morning. But once we're engaged or once we're married, everything is going to be different. What makes you think that everything is going to be different then? Oh, because I shouldn't make him uncomfortable now. No, why would you make him feel uncomfortable now? Make sure that the environment that you create before you jump into engagement or marriage is the environment and the relationship that makes you happy.
True.
Okay? And if it's not, and you feel like you have to tolerate in order to stay in a relationship, it's not the right relationship.
Correct. Exactly. One thing as well, because I want to make sure that we cover all bases. I know that you had a couple of questions to ask Yani before, because I want to leave the rest of the seminar for people to ask questions. Okay. Kay just shared with me on the chat. She said that Dr. Lean Benzendine spoke on her book about the vasopressin, which is mentioned that is strongly correlated to cheating. And those cheaters have a lot of the hormone that they produce from the pituitary gland, which is oxytocin and vasopressin. So if they lack this hormone, they're more likely to be able to cheat on other people, because the vasopressin is more something that is about control, about more a hormone that is related to happiness, to dependency on others, and so on and so forth. So you have to really be careful that if they do have a lack of production of this hormone, it's internal. Nothing that they can do to fix it. You cannot take supplements.
Okay, how do you protect yourself from someone who's a player and a cheater and is using the excuse of exclusivity to get away with what he wants?
Well, here's the thing, like, it's too early to tell when you're like 2-3 dates. You know, like
I will tell you, when someone is interested, Kay, not the first date, give it a couple of weeks. Okay, talking and dating for a couple of weeks, and you see whether it progresses or not. But I will tell you, that's why it's so important to have that little casual, very sweet conversation. What are you looking for? Because in my case, when guys seem to be dating other girls, I said, look, I'm not in no one's back burner, and I'm looking for a serious relationship. So if by now you're not sure whether you want to be serious or not, I'm not interested. That's what I used to do to protect myself. Because if you keep dating the person in 2 weeks and 3 weeks and a month, and all of a sudden it's 2 months, he's dating 5 girls and openly telling you that he's not ready, that he's not exclusive. Doesn't it sound like a great excuse to just be with many people at the same time?